And we're live. All right, what's up, everybody? I'm Carson with White Creek Realtors Listers Properties. It is the end of March, and this is just a quick video about what's happening right now in the local real estate market right now for you guys. So I get asked a lot, is it a good time to buy, or is it a good time to sell, or should I wait? Should I try to time the market? Okay. A lot of realtors will tell you that it's always the right time to sell. That's not necessarily true. I prefer to look at the numbers, the real statistics, and see what the numbers say. So there's three numbers, okay, that you're going to want to look at to determine pretty much everything you need to know about the current real estate market, okay? Those are average days on market, price trend, and list to sell ratio. Okay, so average days on market. A lot of realtors will pull their days on market from the MLS directly. That's not as accurate as the absorption rate. Okay, which is basically how long it takes for the current inventory to be absorbed, or basically, from the actual statistics on the amount of days it takes from active to pending. Okay, so that is the absorption rate. That is a more accurate depiction of days on market because it takes into consideration things like expired listings and withdrawn listings, so on and so forth. So let's go ahead and take a look at the numbers. Okay, so I pulled up 10 different cities, and guys, if your city isn't in one of these market segments and you are curious about the stats for your specific city, or I'll even do a subdivision for you, just let me know in the comments where you're at, and I'll do one of these for you absolutely for free. So I told you the three things you got to look at is average days on market, calculated by the absorption rate, the price trend, and the list sale ratio. So we'll start off in Covington, okay? As you can see, there's 169 active listings in Covington and 229 closed last quarter, okay? The median sales price this quarter is about $300,000. That's the median, not the average, okay? So basically, the normal home you're going to get right now in Covington is worth $300,000. All right, so the median list price this quarter is $304,450, and then this is the absorption rate. Okay, this means that it takes 2.21 months to absorb the current inventory of homes in Covington, Louisiana, or 66 days. Okay, so if I pulled this directly from the MLS and looked at the MLS's days on market, I would get something like 30, 40, 45 days, something like that. But that doesn't take into account a lot of the factors that I've mentioned previously. Okay, so the actual days on market is 66 days. That means that half of the homes are going to sell in less than 66 days. Half of the homes are going to sell in more than 66 days in Covington. Okay, the sale percent of list. So basically, what that means is you list a home for 300,000 in Covington. On average, you're going to get a little bit less than that. You're going to get 98.37% of that. Now, here's what you look at. This is probably my favorite statistic, the price trend. So what this does is it takes the median sale price of homes in the last quarter and then takes the median sales price of homes this quarter. It calculates a trend, okay, and then it predicts at an annual depreciation or appreciation rate what you can expect. Now, does this mean that in exactly 12 months, Covington is going to be depreciated by 10%? It doesn't necessarily mean that. It's just the trend that we're on, okay? So if you're a buyer, maybe you're an investor, or maybe you are just looking to get into a house, even for your primary residence, and you're wanting to buy somewhere where you have a good idea of if that property is going to appreciate. Well, let's look at what we got. Okay, so Covington is on a negative 9.29% annual price trend. Okay, So the trend that Covington is on at the moment is negative. And then you go to Mandeville and you get a 15.87% price trend. Okay? So that doesn't necessarily mean, like I said, that Mandeville is going to have appreciated by 15% year over year by this time in 2024. But it does mean that the trend that it's on is taking us there. Okay, so a lot can happen in 12 months, believe me. But we're going in the right direction. So you can see Mandeville, all right? You can see Hammond has the best price trend right now. Denham Springs is positive, New Orleans is positive, Baton Rouge is positive. So if I was just looking at these stats and I was going to buy a rental property right now, well, Hammond looks real nice. 23% positive. That's good stuff right there. But I did want to say, full disclaimer, for Abita Springs, okay, we're looking at a negative 48% price trend. There's not a whole lot of data for Abita Springs, right? Because look, we only got 15 active listings right now and 26 that closed last quarter. So 48 negative 48. We don't have a big a big set of data to calculate the best price trend. But if you take what we've got, what we have access to, we're looking at negative 48. That doesn't mean that your home is going to drop by 50%. But it means that if I was buying, I'd buy in Mandeville, I'd buy in Hammond, I'd buy in Denham Springs, I'd buy in New Orleans, and I'd buy in Baton Rouge if I'm going based off the stats. All right. So, yeah. So let's look at days on market for some of these cities, okay? And I've got these up for y'all to go through on your own. And if you want a copy, just put a comment on this live, and then I can send you a copy. I'll send you the PDF. And like I said, if your city is not on this stat sheet, or if you want me to do your subdivision, I can absolutely do that. Just drop a comment. So, anyways, guys, so Covington and Mandeville, we're looking at a about 2 months period of days on market, while Madisonville is at 3 months. Okay. Slidell a little bit longer, almost 4 months. Abita Springs is actually, interestingly enough, we're on this negative price trend, but look at Abita Springs at 52 days on market. So a little bit less than Covington and Mandeville. Okay. So what that means is if you're a seller, there's usually two things you want if you're a seller. You want to sell in the least amount of time possible, and you want to net the most amount of money in your pocket after the sale, right? So, if you are in Abita Springs, if you are in Covington or Mandeville, okay, or Ponchatoula, or even Denham Springs, all of these cities that are 2 months, a little over 2 months, or a little less than 2 months, that's going to get you one of the things you want. You don't want to be waiting 6 months like in New Orleans for your home to sell. And like I mentioned, what average days on market means is 50% of the homes sell in less than the average. 50% or more, 50% exactly sell more than the average. They're on longer. Now, sale percent of list, okay? If you're in Covington, you list a home, you're going to get a little less than what you list for. Mandeville and Madisonville are right on the money. Madisonville, you actually get a little bit more on average, okay, than what you list for. So if you list for $365,000, if you list for $363,900 in Madisonville, on average you get $365,000. So you get an extra, what is that, $1,100? So Slidell's a little bit less than that than Covington, 98%. Abita is 97%. Hammond is 100%, right on the money. All right. So if I would have done this for you guys last April or last May, you would have seen, a lot of times 130% for the sale percent of the sale percent of list. Homes were going sometimes 30% above asking price. So we're not in a crazy market like that right now. This is the most balanced the market has been, in my opinion, in at least the last 3 or 4 years, okay? It's a very, very balanced market right now. Market's not going crazy. Market still isn't crashing, okay? I know these big red numbers might scare you. It's just the trend we're on. I'm going to do another one of these at the end of April, and we can compare and we can reassess and look at and see if we're still following those trends, okay? So anyways, if I'm a seller in Mandeville or Covington or Abita Springs, I know my home is going to sell pretty quickly, okay? This is the true days on market. I can expect, on average, if I have an average home, I can expect my home to be gone in 2 months, okay? I can expect to list my home April 1st and get it sold by June, the end of June, okay? So, like I said, if anybody out there wants me to send them this PDF, I will do that. Or if you want me to do another city or subdivision, just drop a comment. Now, if you have a friend who's been thinking about selling, be sure to tag them in the comments. They need to see these numbers. Even if they don't use me as their realtor, doesn't matter. They still need to see it. Okay? People need to know what's actually going on, because there's a lot of people trying to scare you. Okay, a lot of the big media companies, they like to tell you that the bubble's popping and the market's crashing and all this and that. I haven't seen any indication still to this day that the market is crashing. Okay, what happened in 2008 is not what's happening now, I promise. Okay, people are actually getting loans that they can afford. That wasn't the case back then. We had some crazy lending qualifications back then. But anyways, the way you can figure out really is basically supply and demand, okay? If you think about it this way, you know it's supply and demand. If you don't have a lot of supply and you have high demand, which we do, what do you expect? Right? You don't expect the market to crash. You'd actually expect the market to keep appreciating because there's demand and not enough inventory. I should have pulled up a chart for how many homes were built last year versus how many homes were bought. Look that up. That'll be something surprising for you to see, okay? We have low supply of houses, and we still have high demand. Even though interest rates are right now mid sixes, okay, a little bit less than that, right? Even though they're a little bit higher than has been in the last couple years, we still have high demand, right? And not enough supply. So that tells you right there that just on basic economics, you can determine that the market probably isn't going to crash. Now, it could. I could be totally wrong in my assumptions here. But just looking at what I'm looking at, I don't think it is. Lastly, guys, I do a free service, a full 50-point CMA, just like a professional appraisal, which would cost you $500 to $1,000. Okay, I do this absolutely for free, no strings attached. And the report will show you exactly what you would net if you were to sell your house right now or in the next 6 months. I'm going to put a link in the comments real quick if you are interested in that. There it is. Okay. So click that link to request a 50-point CMA. I only got time to do about 5 this week, so you'll need to be fast. Usually get booked up pretty quickly. And like I said, that is a no strings attached. It doesn't mean that you've got to sign papers and you've got to use me as a realtor, just something I offer for free. But I hope that you guys found value in this video, okay? And that's pretty much it. All right.